That's all that matters. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Wendy. I know you're super busy with everything that you've got going on.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, I guess it'd be really nice to start with, if you're happy, just to discuss the kind of work that you guys do and what your ethos is for the people that are viewing us now.
I'd love to. Thanks, Pip. So hi everyone. I'm Wendy. I'm the CEO at Mutu System. Mutu System is it's an online 12-module program for mums, all mums, pregnant mums, new mums, not so new mums, grandmums. And what we do is we specialise in postnatal recovery. So specifically core and pelvic floor. That's kind of the foundation of what we do. So it's an online program. We are currently being used by more than 70,000 women around the world. And what we do is we focus on, we kind of have this umbrella, if you like, of what we do, Pip, which is around self-esteem and confidence and giving those things back to mums. Because all of those symptoms that so many mums are suffering with, some or all of these symptoms, they are not just physical, are they? Like incontinence, prolapse symptoms, painful sex, a tummy that doesn't look or feel or work the way you want it to, a body that doesn't look or feel or work the way you want it to, and all of those things are not just physical issues. They're intimate to us, and they affect our relationships and how we feel about ourselves and all of those things. So Mutu System is all about zero body shaming, total inclusivity, diversity and body positivity around feeling great in and about your body as a mom. And then what we do is the sort of the symptoms, the issues, the conditions that we deal with through Mutu are some of those things. So diastasis recti, separated abdominal muscles, incontinence, stress incontinence, urge incontinence, prolapse and prolapse symptoms, painful sex, all of those issues that affect the abdominal and pelvic region of mums. So that's what we do at Mutu. Delighted to be on here. And
Amazing.
We also, I know you wanted to talk about nutrition as well. There's a big nutritional part of our program too. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's great that there's a service like that for mums, because I think the postnatal period does get massively neglected by and large. And actually for mums to have this, space and this recognition of how important it is to care for themselves, both from a physical and emotional perspective in the postnatal period, is just so important. And I quite often find that as a midwife, explaining this to mums, in that throughout your pregnancy and birthing journey, your body has been kind of completely devoted to growing and nurturing this baby. And then we kind of reach the postnatal period and forget about ourselves, and it's all about this baby. So refocusing mums' minds in that way, I think, is really, really important and really powerful.
It's so true, Pip, and so many of those symptoms too. And I know a lot of women listening will identify with some of them or one of them. And we're led to believe as mums, aren't we, that that's just the way it is. Like, you had a baby, so of course your tummy looks like that, or your core feels like that, or your back hurts. Back pain is a massive part of that we deal with at Mutu. And we're led to believe that because we had the audacity to have babies, that back pain, a body that doesn't make us feel good, leaking when we laugh or sneeze, prolapse, sex that doesn't feel great, we're led to believe that that's like what we should be putting up with. And you're so right, it's kind of that everything's about baby, but there's the mum guilt, as we all know, is ridiculous. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and society, culture, social media puts so much pressure on us, that kind of taking that moment to actually, I think very much for us, the first step is before you leap into what type of exercise you need to do or any of that, it's about having that mindset shift where it's like, I deserve to feel better. And it's like, I'm important and I deserve to have a body that feels good to me. And that really is and that sadly is a massive step for so many women, isn't it? To get to that point.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes women feel that that's kind of self-indulgent after they've had a baby. And it's reconfiguring that to actually, it's a complete necessity. So for you to be able to be the wonderful mother that you will be and that you want to be, you have got to make that time for your own well-being, haven't you? And I guess that's kind of what you're all about, and I love that.
Thank you.
And then I suppose moving on to kind of some nutrition aspects of the postnatal period. So I know it's a massive area of personal interest for me, and I know it's an area that you guys focus on as well. And I think, again, it's something that's massively neglected, because we focus on all this, especially in the weaning period, all these great nutrition that we're giving our babies, and kind of forget that our bodies need that as well. So it's, again, that shift in priorities, isn't it, which happens. And I think it's important we recognise, especially in the immediate postnatal period, that women's bodies have gone through such a massive ordeal, one of the biggest kind of events your body will ever go through in your entire life. And nutrition should form such a, I guess, key part in you recovering and repairing, and then being able to move on to kind of the movement and exercise that you guys work through.
That's so true. I think, and like you say, it's kind of we jump to, well, what's good for our baby, and it's kind of, but we haven't. For me, I think that the pillars of nutrition in the early days are all about healing. It's like it's about healing and recovery, like you say, and we all know that our babies suck us dry, literally. Yeah. So anything good we've got, they're going to take. So we have to give ourselves plenty of that. But yeah, it's all around healing and recovery. So so we advocate certainly in those early days, and so this is for healing if you're breastfeeding or not, but also for just healing your own body. The collagen needs to repair. Your body needs to repair and strengthen, and you need circulation for that, you need hydration for that, and you need great nutrition for that. We're fats, loads of fats. Yeah,
and that's really interesting, actually, Wendy, that you talk about fats, because I think they're one of the kind of macronutrients that in the press has been absolutely hammered, hasn't it? And people just associate fat now with being fat or having excess body fat, and it being a bad thing, and everything has to be low fat, and it couldn't be further from the truth, could it? And actually the power of good fats, as they like to be labelled. I'm not a fan of the whole good and bad food ethos, but those nutritious fats, so those avocados, the olive oil, the nuts, things like this, good quality meats and proteins are just so important for health, aren't they?
They really are, and you're so right, Pip. It's kind of the food industry, and it is an industry, it's a business, has done us a massive disservice for the last sort of decade or two, really, hasn't it, in terms of this low fat nonsense, because it is nonsense. To be encouraging people to think of natural fats as a bad thing, and to think of commercially produced, mass produced nonsense in a tub that is so-called low fat as a good thing.
Just artificial everything.
Exactly. It really is it's such a disservice. So it's like, I think that's getting better. I think there is more of that message, but still that low fat message really prevails. Prevails. I can remember my kids are teenagers now, but I can remember when they were in primary school, coming home with a leaflet about healthy food, and it was low fat this and low fat that, and it's like, oh my goodness, have we not moved on? But we haven't.
It's a message that unfortunately seems to be sticking around. And the other thing that I quite often hear with women as well is like that low carb. So if you haven't got low fat, you've got low carb, and it's like, so what are we eating? And it's really important that when women look at their snacks or their meals, that there's a bit of everything. So you need your carbohydrate sources, you need your protein sources, you need your fat sources, and we absolutely should not be depriving our bodies of any type of macronutrient, because they are completely essential to our health. And we can't expect to recover and repair in that postnatal period if we're not incorporating all those food groups.
Absolutely. It's like, if we're going to heal and recover, because our bodies after babies they're literally rebuilding, aren't they? They're repairing, they're healing. We need to do that, and if on top of that you are breastfeeding or nursing as well, then even more so. But it's we need that stuff to heal, and it's kind of whether you're talking about pelvic floor recovery and healing, whether you're talking about C-section recovery, it's circulation is important. That means you need to move. It doesn't mean you need to be doing high impact anything. It just means you need to be moving, you need to be active, and that circulation will help, and hydration. It's very often it's the when it comes to nutrition and movement, it almost sounds like, oh how boring. What, move and eat well and drink lots of water? That's a bit dull, It's like, it works.
Yeah, it does work.
But it's like hydration is hugely important too, especially again if you're nursing as well. But for healing and recovery and sort of getting everything just strong again. We can't get strong. This is what we do in Mutu. It's kind of, you can't get strong until you can't strengthen a muscle that is literally sort of not being communicated with right now. You know, it's kind of, so we really start with those foundations, and you know, if you build the foundations, and nutrition is of course vital to the foundations. Yeah, plenty of water, especially if you're feeding as well. And yeah, fat and protein, lots of fat and protein. Yeah, definitely. And green vegetables. You cannot eat enough green vegetables. No.
Pile them on for sure. And just talking about the hydration element, Wendy, so super important, and like we said, especially for breastfeeding mums, because you are at much higher risk of becoming dehydrated, and our bodies don't function well in a dehydrated state anyway, especially when we've got all this tissue healing going on. And one of the little tips I always give to breastfeeding mums is to pop little bottles of water in all the places that they are likely to find themselves sat breastfeeding, because it's a little aid memoir. And there's nothing worse than finally getting your baby latched, finally you're feeding away, and then you're like, oh, I should be drinking.
Oh, and it's an instant. I can remember that. It's like the second.
Yeah.
That very second, like, oh, I should have got a cup of tea.
Yeah. Should have done that first. Yes. So if it's there and ready, then you've kind of got no excuse.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we know in that kind of early postnatal period, I suppose, there's so many kind of different challenges that we're facing that may be completely new to us. So that lack of sleep, the recovery, discomfort and pain, depending on the mode of birth, and your massively fluctuating hormone levels.
Yeah.
And for some women, some depressive symptoms, which may be normal, or they may manifest into something that is a bit more pathological. And this is another way in which nutrition can be really supportive in terms of our mental well-being. We know that having these big peaks and troughs in your blood sugar levels can trigger anxiety and depressive symptoms. So this is where I'd really encourage mums to, first of all, start their day with a good breakfast. Let's not be skipping on breakfast. Isn't a time to be kind of sending your body into long fasts. We want to be breaking those fasts with nutritious foods, and trying to minimise or steer clear of kind of sugary or refined carbohydrate foods that are going to cause these big kind of peaks and troughs in our blood sugar. So swapping your kind of white refined products for kind of whole grain alternatives. So not massive dietary changes, but just those small swaps that will hopefully just stabilise those blood sugars and kind of prevent those big kind of steep peaks and troughs that we tend to end up trying to manage otherwise.
Definitely. And for another incentive to stop, you know, to cut back on the sugar and things as well is all around inflammation, which if you're healing, that's your enemy. So it's kind of, you know, we get, you know, whether you're dealing with diastasis recti or pelvic floor recovery or whatever it might be, it's like those tissues need help to heal. And inflammation is the enemy there, and sugar is of course the biggest enemy of that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And the mental and emotional wellness issues around the effect that our diet has on that is huge, isn't it? And I think it's a connection we don't often make, and it's, you know, stress, get enough sleep. I mean, telling a new mum to get more sleep.
It's not going to happen.
That's really helpful, isn't it? But, thanks. But it's kind of, you know, it really is any strategy that you can possibly make work in your life, you know, whether it's sleep when the baby sleeps, or, you know, but getting help and just all of that, because all of those things are inflammatory. You know, stress is inflammatory, and if we don't, stress there's emotional stress, obviously mental stress, but there's also bodily and physical stress. And if our body is tired, if our body is you know, dealing with sugar and other inflammatory things, then again that gives a stress response. So yeah, I know it's an impossible thing to say to a new mom, like, just don't be stressed and get more sleep. How hard can that be? But yeah, those are the self-care is just so important, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess talking about the stress and sleep, we laugh about it, but to some extent they are things that are slightly out of our control in that postnatal period. Yeah. But that's where, like, our hydration, our nutrition, our ability to move our bodies is completely within our control. So we can really reap the rewards of those much smoother than we can perhaps try and sleep more. You know,
yes, absolutely.
It's something we can actually do. And I suppose as well, when we look at the kind of the tissue healing and the recovery in the postnatal period, one of the kind of micronutrients that women may be trying to actively increase because they've been told to is iron. We know that so many women of childbearing age are deficient in iron, and that is only exacerbated by pregnancy and birth. And it's so important to our recovery and to our well-being. If our bodies can't be transporting the oxygen around that it needs to be, then our tissues aren't going to be healing. We're not going to be sleeping as well. We're not going to be feeling our best. So getting adequate iron stores in your body in that postnatal period is definitely one of the kind of micronutrients to focus on, I suppose.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, I don't think you can underestimate the work that your body is still doing, sort of post-baby. It's kind of like the really painful hard work might be done, but it's kind of, the healing and the recovery and then the strengthening. And I think that's sort of a process that I think it's so important for us to try to get our mindset into, because we exist in a culture, we exist in a world of quick, fast, get it back quick, whatever get it back means, and it's kind of, and so we're jumping to weight loss, or we're jumping to hardcore exercise, and it's just, there is a big stage, and it's such a foundationally important and vital stage, isn't it, that just we have to do that first. We say it all the time with our members and followers. It's that stuff's not going to work. Like, you jump to that, it won't work, and you're going to get so frustrated and disappointed because you're not going to get the results you want, because you have to build those foundations first.
Absolutely. And when we talk about kind of these quick fixes and approaches in that postnatal period, when your body's been growing this baby for 9 whole months, you can't expect to in a week suddenly be at your fittest, healthiest, most recovered state. It's going to take time, and it's really important we give ourselves that time. And I think interesting, because I know we're using social media now, and I think it can be an amazing platform for so many things, but also such a negative and damaging platform. And I'd really encourage women that in this postnatal period, when you are really vulnerable, your hormones are doing all sorts, your mental health really needs to be protected. And if that means unfollowing some certain influencers that perhaps aren't helpful to your journey, then this is a real time to do that.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I always say if social media it's supposed to be, it's entertainment essentially, right? It's engaging, and it's reaching out, and it's all of those things. But if what you're looking at as you scroll is making you feel anything other than good, then don't follow it. Yeah. It's like, that is not helping. It's like, that feeling of not good enough, not hot enough, not slim enough, not fit enough, not strong enough, not anything enough. Yeah. That feeling of not enough. If you've got stuff in your timeline that makes you feel not enough of anything, lose it. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't have to be there. You don't have to look at this stuff. And it's kind of, all it does is perpetuate this awful kind of guilt and feeling of body shame and judgment, and then you're sucked into this rabbit hole of you're looking at other women in that way, and it's like, guys, stop.
Yeah. It's so ironic, isn't it, that as a woman, your body can do the most incredible, powerful thing, and yet the next day you're completely ashamed of it. And you're putting yourself down and being so unkind to yourself after it's just created another human being. Like, it just seems completely ludicrous, doesn't it? When
it really is. Yeah. I mean, if you've just had a baby, however you had your baby, if you've carried a baby, however you've done that, it's like we should feel at our most amazing, strong, sexy, incredible. And sadly, many of us just don't, do we? We don't feel those things. We feel less than, we feel invisible, we feel alienated from our body, disconnected from our body. And it's kind of, those are so if you're seeing anything in your feed that makes you feel any of those things, then get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so amazing, isn't it, the influence it can have. And I guess one of the other things that is a bugbear of mine, and I suspect you feel the same, is the kind of connotation of you've got to get your pre-baby body back. And you think, well, why would you want to? Look what your body's just done. What was it like before? Like, the journey that your body's been on is incredible. So why try and turn back time? I think we really need to try and reframe the way we consider our bodies in the postpartum period, and really, I guess, flip our focus from looking a certain way to actually what's going on and what can we do to make ourselves fit and strong and healthy and feel that way as well.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The get your body back message, I think, is a incredibly damaging one, and just it's all it does is shame you into. It shames us into feeling that right now we're not good enough. Right now we're not doing a good enough job. We're not working hard enough. We're in some way failing. It is. It's that self-esteem piece is huge. And yes, there's all those symptoms that make that worse. But it's like, it's like I said at the start. These aren't just physical things. It's not like my arm hurts. My arm hurts, so my arm hurts. So it hurts when I use my arm. But if intimacy hurts, if I feel rubbish about myself, if I can't laugh without or get up and dance without being scared I'm going to wet myself, that's affecting my whole self, isn't it? That's affecting my whole emotional well-being. So yes, it's I think it's such an important time to focus on you, self-care, and ensuring that, as you said, with regards to social media and everything that's in your environment and in your sphere, what are you consuming? Because if it's not making you feel good, it really needs to go.
It does need to go. And I know we've gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but I love it because I feel like our passions are completely in the same place. So I love that we've done that.
I need good food. Yeah,
I need good food. So I do love that we've done that. But just I guess steering us back before we finish and let all these wonderful people get on and have their lunch is, I thought maybe we could just share a couple of top tips around the postnatal period and nutrition. And I'm sorry, I've totally just thrown this on you because we haven't rehearsed it.
That's cool.
But I guess from me, it would be to practically, so invest in a slow cooker, because it means that you can chuck loads of great nutritious ingredients in there in the morning, and by the evening you've got a meal and you haven't had to spend loads of time slaving in the kitchen. And to accept help. So if people are willing to help you, brilliant. This is the time to say yes. It's not a sign of weakness. People want to help. So accept that and embrace it.
I totally agree. Take the help. And if nobody's offering, ask for it. It's like they won't say no. Just ask for it. Yeah, absolutely. Take the support. And I would say around nutrition would be around, for me, I think the fats issue is such a big one because we don't naturally go for them because we've been so conditioned to, or so many of us have been so conditioned to think that that's a bad thing. So think about how you can get more good fat into your diet, and that can be from snacks. So it's like, avocados, nuts, those oily fish, if you like that or are eating that, that's all fantastic. Good olive oil, put it on everything. I put olive oil on everything. It's like, so just get those good fats into your diet. They're so important to your healing, everything, your tissue health, brain health, everything. Yeah. And I know it sounds like it's been done before, but drink more water. It's like keep on hydrate. It's like if you find just plain water boring, find a way to just make it slightly more interesting. So whether that's with some fruit juice, whether you're drinking herbal teas or whatever it might be, but we have to hydrate. It's the thing that we're all too low on. However, none of us are doing enough.
That's so true. I love that, and I really hope that we've been able to just, I guess, help some postnatal women start having these discussions and start creating some space for their own well-being, be that through movement, nutrition, or their mindset, and just switching that mindset to start loving their bodies, I suppose, and being positive in that. Absolutely.
Well, thanks ever so much for having me. It's been really nice. You can find us at Mooti System and we're in the NHS Apps Library as well. So
amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot, Pip.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.